The story I'm about to tell you is so embarrassing that you might hope it isn't true. But unfortunately, it is all too real. We know that Donald Trump's attention span and focus are problematic. Trump tells his advisors to give him information, briefings, by giving him one single sheet of paper with a few bullet points and lots of pictures or maps. Numerous people have commented that Trump is constantly distracted by a TV that's on in the background of whatever room he's in. We know Trump isn't a reader. His co-author of The Art of the Deal, Tony Schwartz, said he never saw Trump near a book. He believes Trump has not read an entire book in his entire adult life. We have real questions about Trump's reading abilities. That's okay, I guess, right? Trump goes with his gut. He needs a small amount of information, and his instincts take over, and they're the best instincts, so there's no need to worry.
Well, the thing is, I mean, even if you're not a reader, there's plenty of other ways to take in information, especially if you have the resources that he has where other people can brief him. So that alone isn't so bad.
Right. Once you limit the briefings to 2 bullet points and a picture, the ability to learn by briefing also is hindered. Here's here's Mark Fisher from the Washington Post describing a conversation he had with Trump during the election to sort of give some color to this attention issue that Trump has.
So I pressed a little harder and I said, well, how are you preparing? How will you make decisions as president? And he said, well, I'm not going to be reading any big reports or anything like that. And he told me the story of how a guy from Wall Street came to him, wanted him to make a deal in China, and said there was an innovative kind of financing that he wanted Trump to consider. And so Trump said, well, I don't know anything about that. And the guy said, no problem, we've done some research. I have a report, I'll send it to you today. And Trump said, don't send me any blanking reports, and said, because I won't read them.
So that's the background. What's the news? Well, as you may have heard, Trump's going to be attending a NATO summit in Brussels, Belgium next week. By the way, Brussels, beautiful city. I was there 3 weeks ago. One of the best cities. Absolutely tremendous, really. So there's concern about Trump attending this summit because there's lots of speeches. And according to several sources who work for NATO, as well as former senior U.S. officials, NATO is telling other heads of state who will be speaking at the summit, who will be talking to Trump. I mean, I can't believe this is what's happening. Other world leaders have been told to limit their speeches to no more than 4 minutes. They're looking for 2 to 4 minute speeches to accommodate Donald Trump's attention span. The president of the United States needs to be accommodated with speeches not to exceed 4 minutes. One source said, quote, "It's kind of ridiculous how they're preparing to deal with Trump. It's like they're preparing to deal with a child, someone with a short attention span and mood, who has no knowledge of NATO, no interest in in-depth policy issues, nothing. They're freaking out." They've also said they've given up on their original plan to give Trump a full-length written report about NATO's position on different world issues, because as we know, Donald Trump is just not going to read it. Why don't they just give Trump briefings in the form of a puppet show or something like that? As long as it's a short puppet show, he probably only has the attention span for like a 4 to 6 minute puppet show.
I'm sure all these world leaders are jockeying for position as to who gets to speak last because,
right.
As we know, whoever Trump hears last has the most influence over him.
That's what he goes
change
with.
His mind after that.
Yeah, any decision he makes is based on the last thing someone told him 5 minutes ago. I would actually restrict speeches to 140 characters. That's really the amount of depth Donald Trump is used to going into. Should we be worried, serious question, should we be worried that this might allow foreign leaders to manipulate Donald Trump? If you've got a leader who's not willing or even capable of listening or comprehending or evaluating large amounts of information, and other countries are aware of that, can't they just figure out how to do a manipulative 2-minute summary that will influence Trump with no context whatsoever?
I mean, there's certainly reports about foreign governments influencing his decision-making. We see that particularly with the Russians nowadays.
Yeah. How obviously that's happening now. I'm speaking hypothetically. Like,
okay.
Imagine if this happened. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
It is happening. This tweet from Donald Trump has never been more relevant. Remember when under the Obama administration in June of 2014, Trump tweeted, "Are you allowed to impeach a president for gross incompetence? Isn't it a sign of incompetence if Trump can't listen to speeches exceeding 4 minutes in duration?" And the other issue that's also concerning staff is Trump doesn't know anything about NATO, but I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, that's been going on for a while. A NATO official is quoted as saying, quote, "People are scared of his unpredictability, intimidated by how he might react, knowing the president might speak his mind or tweet his mind." That's the other concern. Trump might just start talking off the cuff, And anytime that happens on a policy issue, things are about to get a little bit dicey.
Maybe he'll start talking about how human energy is like a battery and you have a finite amount, so you shouldn't exercise because you're going to waste the amount of energy you started off as a child.
He said exercising can deplete the energy you have.
That's why he doesn't believe in exercise, yeah.
Wow. And
Yeah.
then having KFC on his private jet. Today's program is made possible in part by Gamefly, which is sort of like Netflix for video games. They've got over 8,000 new and classic games for Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS4, PS3, Wii, and a bunch of other platforms. And you can also stream games. You don't even need a gaming console or a computer because you can stream games through your Amazon Fire Stick or Roku box and then use your mobile phone as the controller. You can play as many games as you want for one monthly fee. And if you find some games you want to keep, you can buy them for a low used price, never with due dates or late fees. And our audience can get a 30-day free trial at gameflyoffer.com/TDPS. The games are shipped directly to you with return envelopes included, no contracts, and you can also stream the games. I think I mentioned that. You can also rent games through the mobile app. Get a free 30-day trial for David Pakman Show viewers and listeners, and support our show at gameflyoffer.com/TDPS.